Comet Leonard's visibility is diminishing, but it is not leaving without a final spectacle. Recently, it reached its closest point to Earth on December 12th, providing excellent opportunities for observation. As the comet progresses through the inner solar system, a remarkable change has occurred. The comet's tail now exhibits a twisted, streamer-like appearance, while its core continues to grow brighter. However, during the event, NASA captured an intriguing image of an unusual occurrence between Earth and Venus. Online spectators who witnessed the event reported the emergence of a substantial shield-like object during Comet Leonard's closest approach. The camera named Stereo H2 captured this footage, and it is evident that a significant structure emerges between Earth and Venus. Positioned on the left side of the screen, Venus is accompanied by Earth on the right. As Comet Leonard made its way near Earth, an intriguing development occurred. A remarkable construction seemingly arose, resembling a massive structure enveloping our planet. This structure even obstructed some of the comet's tail from reaching Earth, garnering noteworthy attention and speculation. The peculiarity of this video lies in the sudden appearance of a shield-shaped object when Comet Leonard becomes visible. Some speculate that this object serves as a form of protection for Earth, shielding it from the comet or any potential space debris. It is worth noting that this is not the first instance where the stereo camera has detected this mysterious object. In March 2020, while observing the Lagoon Nebula alongside Venus and Earth, an intriguing image was captured. The shared photographs generated considerable excitement, with individuals noting the resemblance of the object to a massive wheel. Furthermore, it seemed to emit a beam in front of it, prompting speculation that it could be a form of protection against space debris aimed at safeguarding our planet. The video captured by the Stereo B spacecraft's telescope, which is operated by NASA, is intriguing due to its direct source. These probes are positioned on opposite sides of the Sun, aiding NASA and other scientists in studying the inner mechanisms of the solar system. They are particularly valuable for observing celestial objects that pass near Earth. As mentioned, this enigmatic triangular entity has approached us on previous occasions. A knowledgeable and neutral audience will find it informative to learn that someone mentioned the sighting of a wheel that resembled the provided image, but NASA dismissed it as unremarkable. What stands out is that the wheel only becomes visible when the comet aligns with Earth. This individual expressed their viewpoint, stating the following: "These images and videos were sourced directly from NASA, leaving no room for doubt regarding their origin. I am completely clueless as to the identity and the process by which this object takes shape. However, NASA have told people that the object in question can be explained, saying that what we are seeing is just a recurring image artifact caused by internal reflections of a planet. They addressed this footage and said the following on Stereo's official website. Some people have noticed a strange triangular or diamond-shaped object entering the field of view of the telescope on Stereo. You can see the feature in question in this movie, moving from right to left, just above the occulter on the right side of the image, and more clearly in this close-up movie. The answer for what this artifact is lies on the exact opposite side of the image. At the same time as this strange-looking feature starts being visible, the very bright planet Venus enters the field of view from the lower left. Notice that Venus and the feature stay in step almost exactly opposite each other across the middle of the detector. This is not a coincidence. The strange-looking geometrical object is actually an internal reflection of the planet Venus within the telescope optics. This effect has been seen many times before. The phenomenon of unidentified objects has been a subject of intrigue for both scientists and the general public. An especially curious subset of these sightings is the one that involves mysterious objects seen near our Sun. These instances, often captured in photographs and videos by solar observatories and space-based telescopes, challenge our understanding and provoke fascinating questions about the nature of these objects. The Sun, due to its extreme conditions and proximity to Earth, is an area of keen interest for astronomers. Solar observations have been conducted using various tools, such as NASA's Solar Dynamics Observatory, the Solar and Heliospheric Observatory, and numerous ground-based observatories. During these observations, anomalies occasionally appear. These oddities, often interpreted as unidentified objects by some observers, exhibit unusual characteristics such as abrupt changes in direction, speed, or even shape. Some of these sightings have suggested massive objects, far larger than any man-made spacecraft, seemingly maneuvering close to the sun's surface. The implications of an artificial object able to withstand and navigate the sun's extreme environment, with temperatures reaching millions of degrees and intense gravitational and magnetic forces, are both bewildering and revolutionary, signifying a technological prowess far beyond our current capabilities. However, while these sightings are undeniably intriguing, they also invite skepticism and alternate explanations. Scientists often attribute such anomalies to instrumental artifacts, optical illusions, or natural celestial phenomena. For instance, a common artifact in space imaging is the cosmic ray hit, where high-energy particles interfere with the image sensor to produce bright spots or streaks. Other explanations include the remnants of comets or meteoroids, solar prominences, or coronal mass ejections, all of which can create unusual and dramatic patterns in the solar vicinity. These rational explanations underscore the importance of adhering to scientific methodologies when investigating these sightings. Nevertheless, the continued presence of unexplained anomalies in our solar observations indicates that our understanding of the universe is still far from complete. Each unexplained sighting, whether eventually debunked or left unresolved, contributes to our growing knowledge base and inspires further exploration and inquiry. As the search for advanced intelligence continues, these mysterious sightings highlight an essential aspect of the endeavor. The universe is vast and largely unexplored, teeming with mysteries that we are only beginning to probe. Whether these mysterious objects turn out to be advanced spacecrafts, natural phenomena, or simply glitches in our instruments, their investigation pushes the boundaries of our understanding and brings us one step closer to answering the age-old question, are we alone in the universe?
NASA finds massive gravity anomaly buried under Antarctica. NASA's satellites have noticed a gravity anomaly sitting within a 300-mile-wide crater buried deep underneath Antarctica's ice, seemingly consistent with the giant asteroid. Impact that caused the Permian-Triassic extinction roughly 250 million years ago. The asteroid triggered a mass extinction that lasted nearly 2 million years, starting volcanic flows and hotspots. This crater is estimated to be almost 3 times the Chicxulub crater's size, which is the asteroid impact that killed off the dinosaurs. Scientists believe that this crater was formed even before East Antarctica's coastal Cretaceous formation. NASA and the German Aerospace Center ran a 15-year-long mission to measure gravity anomalies throughout the planet and discover how its mass is distributed and changes over time. The joint mission was called the Gravity Recovery and Climate Experiment, or GRACE, and ran from March 2002 to October 2017. They sent satellites that would detect any subtle shifts in the Earth's magnetic and gravity fields. Gravitational force is affected by mass, so any changes indicate a redistribution of mass, something large enough to alter it. GRACE sent 2 satellites into orbit at the same altitudes, one trailing the other, and circled the poles about 15 times every day. In 2006, a group of researchers examined data from these satellites when they noticed an anomaly below Antarctica's ice. Using GRACE's records, they determined that the anomaly was due to a massive crater that had been buried for millions of years, most likely from an asteroid impact. The discovery has instigated a flurry of theories, with the most popular being the existence of 1930s and 1940s German bases. Theorists claim that Germany built secret hideouts in the continent during that time, evidenced by the multiple entrances that exist around Antarctica. They argue that the Germans were building UFOs because the entrance's size required you to fly in a saucer-shaped vessel. In 1991, the KGB revealed classified documents from the US Navy's Operation Highjump, which proved they had sent numerous missions to the Antarctic during the 1970s. The theorists say that although the Navy claimed they were only researching the continent, they were there to investigate an entrance that supposedly led to the inner Earth. Thousands of sailors and crew were dispatched over the years, allowing rumors of UFO bases, German hideouts, and portals to the underworld to grow. Scientists, though, argue that the mysterious anomaly is an impact crater. The massive Wilkes Land gravity anomaly is about 151 miles wide and reaches a minimum depth of 2,700 feet. Researchers believe that a giant asteroid could have impacted the Antarctic and initiated the Permian-Triassic extinction, which was the largest extinction of life in Earth's history. It killed 96% of all sea creatures and about 70% of the land-dwelling vertebrate organisms, much more catastrophic than what killed the dinosaurs. The collision would have caused drastic climate changes and created a challenging environment to live in, resulting in many species to have lost their lives. Since the crater is covered by miles of thick glacial ice, researchers have not been able to test it or pull samples properly. They have only been able to quickly inspect it based on its magnetic and gravitational anomalies. Scientists have no accurate way to figure out what is buried deep within Antarctica's ice, so it will remain a mystery until they do. HD 164595. HD 164595 is a star in the Hercules constellation that is strikingly similar to our Sun. The two stars are both classified as Class G stars due to their size and characteristics, and while our Sun obviously has numerous planets orbiting in its fiery gravitational pull, it appears that HD 164595 only has one planet, which makes a complete orbit every 40 days. Any time that a star and planet combination appear to resemble the characteristics of our own, a scientific organization known as SETI, or the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, carefully observes it as a possible location of life beyond our solar system. And while stars of this nature and their respective planets generally just continue as they always have without giving SETI much to go on, HD 164595 is a little different. The star made headlines and raised the proverbial antennae of alien life watchers in 2016, when a very strong signal was detected coming from that region. The signal, which travelled the 94 light-years between the Earth and the star, was still incredibly strong when it reached a Russian telescope trained on the star. An international team of researchers and astronomers immediately banded together to study the star further and attempt to determine what could have caused the signal and if it could mean that the planet-star duo housed extraterrestrial life forms. Douglas Vakoch, an astronomer who is heavily involved in the study of the potential for alien life, said in an interview with CNN that the signal from HD 164595 is intriguing because it comes from the vicinity of a sun-like star, and if it's artificial, its strength is great enough that it was clearly made by a civilization with capabilities beyond those of humankind. While it is hard to imagine a civilization that is dozens and dozens of times more advanced than we are, the truth is that it's highly likely that this could be the case, as our own technologies would not be able to generate a signal of the strength seen emanating from HD 164595. However, researchers do wonder if it is indeed a signal generated by alien life forms. Why would they be targeting our solar system? Some suggest that we might be just as much of a mystery to them as they are to us. Since our own signals would not reach them, it is possible that they do not know we are even here in the first place. And while the implications of the signal being artificial are huge, experts and SETI researchers do admit that the chances of this being a call from aliens is very slim. Without corroboration from an independent observatory, a putative signal from extraterrestrials doesn't have a lot of credibility, admitted Vakoch. The greatest limitation is that it hasn't been replicated. Before we can give any credence to a signal as coming from extraterrestrials, we need to see it repeatedly to make sure it wasn't just a transient phenomenon. And while the SETI researchers hold out hope that the signal comes again, or the alien life forms reach out or signal in another way, the unsettling fact is that our own technologies are not advanced enough to answer the question of extraterrestrial life once and for all. If aliens do exist somewhere out there, then they are going to have to come to us. And if the signal truly was just a fluke, never to be repeated, it will likely go into the records as just another inexplicable element of space creating one more unsolved mystery. NASA space probes discover man-made barrier surrounding Earth. Humankind accidentally protected itself from possibly dangerous cosmic events. An artificial barrier, or bubble as some call it, was found surrounding the Earth. This barrier not only affects weather events in space, but also protects us from dangerous cosmic weather. Human impact on Earth is undeniable, but now we know our technology significantly impacts our outer atmosphere and beyond. As it turns out, the bubble was created by the interaction of man-made technology and space. More specifically, the interaction between high-energy radiation particles in space and man-made radio communications from Earth. The radio waves in question are typically used to communicate with submarines under the ocean's surface and are frequently used in science, engineering, and military operations. As these waves work to reach their destination, they can end up reaching out beyond Earth's atmosphere and interacting with external radiation particles in space. Dan Baker from the University of Colorado Laboratory for Atmospheric and Space Physics calls the bubble an impenetrable barrier. This artificial barrier protects Earth from possible dangers like solar flares or coronal mass ejections. All these phenomena can lead to radiation particles entering the atmosphere, which could interrupt our electrical grids and radio wave communications. So how was the barrier discovered? In 2012, a mission was launched with the sole purpose of studying the Van Allen radiation belts. 5 years later, in 2017, scientists were surprised to instead find a low-frequency barrier that stopped dangerous solar discharges from impacting Earth. The barrier, or bubble, also happens to line up with the inner edge of the Van Allen belts. This information has scientists suspecting that the radio waves used in submarine communications, VLF waves, repel radiation particles. If we stopped using VLF waves, the radiation belts would move much closer to Earth's atmosphere. Right now, the radiation belts are further away from Earth than they were in 1960. Scientists have been discussing how this finding shows our impact on space. We have, without a doubt, made an impact on the Earth, but this barrier may be one of the best things that we have done for our planet. Scientists discover rare asteroid that will follow Earth in orbit for the next 4,000 years. There are millions, if not billions, of asteroids potentially whizzing around in space. Scientists who discover these travelling lumps of rock have plenty of examples to study and learn from. But it is not every day that something truly special shows up. In this case, it is what's known as an Earth Trojan asteroid, which is a small piece of space rock that has the same orbit as Earth. A study only recently published announced that researchers had proven the asteroid's existence and also stated that the rock will be following Earth's orbit for at least another several thousand years. A team of astronomers from the Institute of Cosmos Sciences of the University of Barcelona proudly declared their discovery of 2020 XL5, the second Earth Trojan ever confirmed, after 10 years of tireless searching. 2020 XL5 is believed to be around 0.7 miles in diameter. For context, the first Earth Trojan, 2010 TK7, was 0.2 miles in diameter. The size is important in Earth Trojan asteroids, as the sweet spot allows the rock to balance within Earth's orbit around the Sun. Trojan asteroids are nothing new. For decades, we have been aware of Trojans on Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Uranus, and Neptune, though Earth ones have proven to be more elusive. There have been many previous attempts to find Earth Trojans. Tony Santana Ross, one of the authors of the new publication, said to press, "All the dedicated efforts had so far failed to discover any new members of this population. Spotting Earth Trojans is surprisingly difficult. Because of their distance to the Sun, the window of opportunity to spot them is very small. It is only around sunrise that we can try to catch a glimpse of them. However, scientists have got around this by utilizing huge telescopes in Arizona and Cerro Pachon in Chile to photograph the asteroids. Scientists are interested in Trojans mostly due to their age, as many of them were around during the earliest stages of the solar system. They are effectively time capsules of the conditions for that time. In fact, NASA's Lucy mission, which launched in October 2021, is set to visit 8 different Trojan asteroids in the next 12 years. NASA is set up to explore a massive metal asteroid. We are all familiar with asteroids and are a valuable research material. NASA are beginning to investigate an astonishingly large asteroid reaching a staggering 140 miles in width. This is 16 Psyche, the huge asteroid that NASA is hoping to find the ins and outs of in 2022. Researchers have managed to research the light reflected from the asteroid, and the data suggests the asteroid could contain iron, nickel, or gold within the celestial object. It is no secret that asteroids can be immensely valuable. The only catch here is that by the time asteroids make it to Earth, the atmosphere tends to have destroyed a great deal of the material. This asteroid is estimated to clock in at a grand total of $10,000 quadrillion. For reference, according to Statista, in 2020 the global economy was worth $84.5 trillion. 16 Psyche was first observed in 1852, spied in the main asteroid belt lying between Mars and Jupiter. This places it 3 times further away from the Sun, and it takes 5 years here on Earth to complete one orbit of the Sun for 16 Psyche. Principal investigator from the Arizona State University, Lindy Elkins Tanton, said that if it does end up being one part of the larger metal core, this would be the first discovery of its kind in our own solar system, telling us about the first generation of early cores. She speculates the above, but clarifies after, "But we don't really know, and we won't know anything for sure until we get there." Research into this asteroid could reveal what materials contributed to the formation of our planets. We have not got too much information on 16 Psyche as of yet. We are yet to have a mission reach the asteroid, though a NASA mission, also named 16 Psyche, is set to depart in August 2022, looking for more answers. Even more difficult, however, is conducting observations from here on Earth. Through our telescopes from home, 16 Psyche appears as nothing more than a fuzzy blip on the screen. Satellite telescopes, like the famous Hubble Space Telescope, are unable to capture a large amount of detail, unfortunately. We have been able to draw some limited conclusions thanks to the work of radar data scientists, who have been able to figure out how the asteroid rotates and that it has a somewhat oval shape. When NASA sends their mission off, 16 Psyche will be observed for 21 months by an orbiter spanning 435 miles above the surface of the asteroid. Elkins Tanton said, "We don't know what we are going to find. I'm expecting us to be entirely surprised. Hopefully, as we begin to unravel more and more, we can understand the specifics behind the asteroids that keep us company within our solar system." Exoplanet collision at BD 2307. We have lots of wonderful tools and impressive telescopes at our disposal, including the well-known names like the Hubble Space Telescope or the Keck Observatory. However, one of the more impressive and interesting observatories has been built through a team effort between NASA and DLR, the German Aerospace Center. That is SOFIA, the Stratospheric Observatory for Infrared Astronomy. This is a Boeing 747 aircraft fitted with an infrared telescope on the port side of the fuselage. This telescope is fully decked out for infrared astronomy, including Forecast, the faint object infrared camera for the SOFIA telescope. Forecast, fitted on SOFIA in 2019, spied what could be a truly fascinating discovery. Scientists believe it could have been the collision of 2 exoplanets. BD 20307 is about 300 million light-years from Earth. It is a double system formed of stars that are crucial to this research. The system is roughly 1 billion years old. By the time a system is this old, we expect all circumstellar dust to have disappeared, though just 10 years ago, observations from the Spitzer instrument suggested warm debris was around the system. SOFIA has collected some new data to add to the discussion. This has shown that the infrared brightness of the debris at BD 20307 has increased by 10% over the course of 10 years. This is a quick development that we do not usually see in an established older system like this. Some scientists are suggesting that the quick developments and out-of-the-ordinary features could point towards a collision of two exoplanets. Alicia Weinberger, a scientist at the Carnegie Institution for Science's Department of Terrestrial Magnetism and lead investigator of the research, explains that the Saphir observations are incredibly valuable, both in the timescale the changes are shown on and in the rarity of the observation. She said, "This is a rare opportunity to study catastrophic collisions occurring late in a planetary system's history. This research could also help develop our understanding into the development of binary systems, looking at how they evolve. The hope is that this knowledge could then be applicable during research towards the Alpha Centauri triple system. If the unusual activity going on at BD 20307 is in fact an exoplanet collision, more research should be able to help us confirm this. We can then look for these same signs in other parts of our universe and keep an eye out for potential hazards within our own solar system. Some have even suggested that the large axial tilt of Uranus is likely due to a number of collisions. As the research develops, we can hope to draw more concrete conclusions." Astronomers discover hidden trove of massive black holes. Sometimes we can look at something time and time again, still never noticing every detail. Whether it is a missed clue in your favourite film or a seemingly new brushstroke in a painting, this is something each one of us has experienced. Well, it appears that the scientific world is no exception. A research team, led by those at the University of North Carolina, has uncovered a whole host of massive black holes in dwarf galaxies, despite us looking in the areas previously. These massive black holes have been looked past over and over, but now that we know that they are there, they could have a huge potential to help us figure out the details behind the supermassive black hole in the center of the Milky Way. Our galaxy takes the form of a giant spiral, meaning, as our current understanding has us believe, it's made up of lots of small dwarf galaxies and they're merging together. One example of this is the Magellanic Clouds. These clouds are irregular galaxies that appear as an illuminated patch in the sky. They are seen in the south, and they are understood to be dwarf galaxies that will eventually become part of the Milky Way. When a new dwarf galaxy enters our galaxy, there is the potential that it brings along with it a massive black hole at its center. It's currently thought that an inevitable question of when, rather than if, this massive black hole will be absorbed by the supermassive black hole at the center of the Milky Way. While we acknowledge that this is a possibility, in reality, we do not know how often dwarf galaxies contain massive black holes. This is a glaring gap in our current knowledge, as we know very little about how black holes and galaxies grow, develop, and interact with one another. This new research, published in the Astrophysical Journal, helps us to connect the dots as we uncover the black holes we simply had not seen before. Lead author of the study, Magda Polomera, said, "This result really blew my mind because these black holes were previously hiding in plain sight. It can be a fairly difficult process to detect black holes, evidenced by us repeatedly glossing over them. Usually, we can find them when they take in gas, as this results in them growing and makes them glow." Professor Sheila Kanapan, the co-author of the study, likened black holes to fireflies, in that we can only see them when they are lit up. So, if the black holes are not actively growing, then we do not know how many are truly there. Adding to this confusion is that the high-energy radiation characteristic of growing black holes is not exclusively a feature of them alone. New stars can be seen to have the same high-energy radiation. The research team realized that they could test where these signals were coming from, with a different number of tests, allowing us to conclude if it is a young star being formed or a black hole growing that is being observed. So far, this research seems very promising, with a new acknowledgement that there is sometimes more to the picture than what we can see. The theories we currently hold are growing and expanding in size, allowing us to deepen our understanding, and more research will eventually be conducted, hopefully providing further evidence towards what we think we already know. a meteorite crater lake in India just changed colour overnight. In a strange earthly phenomenon, locals, nature lovers, and of course scientists have been pleasantly surprised to discover a mysterious and sudden change in colour of a crater lake in India. More specifically, the lake turned pink seemingly overnight in the western state of India called Maharashtra. Created about 50,000 years ago, Lona Lake was formed as the result of a meteorite crashing into Earth and has since become somewhat of a favourite among tourists and environmentalists and is located 500 kilometres from Mumbai. It has been reported that the lake has changed colour before. What is striking about this shift is the rapid nature of this colour transformation. Photos were shared widely across social media as the entirety of the lake appeared to be a gorgeous pinky hue, and scientists have tentatively attributed the colour to changing saline levels as well as algae presence in the waters. Going into more detail, they explained that water levels in Lona Lake have been dropping for some time, meaning the concentration of saline has been rising. At the same time, warmer temperatures in the area have stimulated algae growth, increasing their levels to the verge of overgrowth. Almost a cyclical relationship, the algae then turns reddish in these warmer temperatures, providing an explanation for the new colour of the lake. While this is scientifically correct and likely theory given by geologist Gajanan Karat, officials from the state's forest department have also collected water samples to verify and test the exact causes behind this occurrence. Lastly, there is one other theorized factor behind the lake's newfound appearance. Speculation has it that the recent lockdowns, which have put a grinding halt to industrial and factory productions, may have played a part, through the significantly lower levels of pollution seen in the surrounding air. Similarly, less human traffic in the area has had the combined effect of better natural preservation for the lake, albeit a sudden shift to this cleaner environment. Only the results from the lab's tests of the water samples can provide a completely certain explanation. But regardless of how it happened, it goes to show how beautiful and mysterious some of the Earth's natural features can be. Astronomers find 7 dwarf galaxy groups. Dwarf galaxies are small bundles of stars containing between 1,000 and up to several billion stars. This might sound like a lot, but our own Milky Way galaxy has between 200 and 400 billion stars in it alone. This can make these dwarf galaxies up to 1,000 times smaller than our own galaxy. Researchers have never had too much evidence for this theory, though it is often believed that galaxies are formed when dwarf galaxies merge together. This was until 2017, when a research paper was published giving us some more evidence to back up these claims. Data was collected from the Sloan Digital Sky Survey, alongside a handful of optical telescopes. This allowed a team of astronomers to begin their research, a process that began with the observation of 7 individual, distinctly separate groups of dwarf galaxies. The team noted that the conditions of these dwarf galaxies were perfect to observe and see if they could in fact merge, morphing into one larger galaxy, with the possibility of a spiral galaxy like our Milky Way also being considered. This research could give us substantial evidence to support our claims that what we consider mature galaxies today were once much smaller galaxies billions and billions of years ago. Sabrina Stierwalt, an astronomer with the National Radio Astronomy Observatory and the University of Virginia in Charlottesville, explained that we know the universe needs to bring small galaxies together to form a bigger one, but that up until now we could not prove it or show how it happened. She continued to say, "For the first time, we have found examples of the first steps in this process. Entire populations of dwarf galaxies that are all bound together in the same general neighborhoods." The team analyzed the data gathered from the SDSS in excruciating detail, looking for dwarf galaxies that looked as though they could be interacting with one another. The team were keeping their eyes peeled for pairs that could be part of bigger assemblies of alike galaxies. Further research was then conducted to put these images into perspective, with the Magellan Telescope in Chile, the Apache Point Observatory in New Mexico, and the Gemini telescope in Hawaii being used to check that these dwarf galaxies are similar distances from Earth, not just aligned, as this could suggest that they are gravitationally bound together. It is hoped that this study provides some more data for future research groups studying groups of dwarf galaxies. This can offer a glimpse into how galaxies are formed and possibly help people to predict future formation patterns. 486958 Arakoth. 486958 Arakoth is the most distant object ever explored, and is also known as 2014 MU69 by its original destination. It was discovered on the 26th of June 2014. In the Algonquian language, Arakoth means sky. New Horizons principal investigator Alan Stern claimed the name Arakoth reflects the inspiration of looking to the skies and wondering about the stars and worlds beyond our own. It is situated in the Kuiper Belt, which is relatively similar to an asteroid belt but much larger in size. Many objects wavering within the Kuiper Belt are well preserved and frozen, similar to a time capsule, giving us an inside look on what the outer solar system was like after its initial conception. These small objects within the Kuiper Belt have been mostly unchanged for over 4 billion years. The Kuiper Belt is known as the solar system's third zone. Arakoth is also a trans-Neptunian object. Trans-Neptunian objects are dwarf or minor-sized planets in our solar system that are at a greater distance than Neptune. Arakoth checks in at 4 billion years old. It was discovered by Mark Buey, using the Hubble Space Telescope. The observation was conducted by NASA's New Horizons science team. Mark Buey announced data from Arakoth has given us an indication about the formation of planets and our cosmic origins. We believe this ancient body, composed of two distinct lobes that merged into one entity, may harbour answers that contribute to our understanding of the origin of life on Earth. Arakoth has a red tint that is actually more red than Pluto, making it the reddest outer solar system object discovered to date. Arakoth's amorphous shape is described by NASA as a snowman that's been partially flattened. It is two objects merged into one and is about 35 kilometers long, 20 kilometers wide, and 10 kilometers thick. Arakoth is the furthest object that has been explored by humans. It was identified when the probe was 6.4 billion kilometers from Earth, and it is an estimated 6.6 billion kilometers away from Earth. It takes Arakoth around 293 years to orbit the Sun once. Arakoth could give scientists answers that they have been searching decades for. There are two situations scientists have debated concerning planetary formation. The first scenario is hierarchical accretion, where small grains and pebbles bounce around, occasionally hitting into each other with enough force to stick, making bigger and bigger objects. Eventually, over the course of millions of years, these planets would have compiled matter from random, forceful collisions. The second scenario is cloud collapse, where certain regions of the nebula had a higher density of particles, and these clumps were drawn towards each other until they spontaneously gravitationally collapsed. Unlike the forceful nature of hierarchical accretion collisions, cloud collapse collisions were leading to the planets being born. Dr. Alan Stern, the principal investigator of the New Horizons team, said the imagery shows no signs of violence, no fractures. The two lobes don't look smashed together, leaving room to certify the cloud collapse theory. The discovery of Arakoth has led to a possible revolutionary breakthrough. A planetary scientist at Washington University in St. Louis explained, "It tells us some profound truths about our solar system. It's a remarkable world that's told us a remarkable story." The information exposed left the New Horizons team confused, debating if Arakoth was more significant than the probe's first encounter with Pluto in 2015. It will be exciting to see where the discovery of 486958 Arakoth will take us, and how it will help us understand the astonishing complexity and inner workings of outer space. The Ross Ice Shelf is freezing, not melting. In 2017, a rather strange discovery was made in regard to the Ross Ice Shelf, the largest shelf of ice in Antarctica. This ice shelf, which has some points which reach an astonishing 10,000 feet thick, is one of many shelves which contain, restrain, and generally hold back the ice of West Antarctica. It is estimated that if the Ross Ice Shelf does one day collapse, then the global sea level has the capability of rising by 10 feet. In November of 2017, a team of scientists from New Zealand investigated the Great Ross Ice Shelf using a hot water drill to create a tunnel-like gap for a thermometer and camera to go underneath the surface level. This technique gives us a snapshot of the environment below surface level, cluing scientists in as to the history of this ginormous shelf, as well as giving us more information as to what exactly it is doing now and the possible future happenings. With thoughts focused on global warming, this research team anticipated finding melting ice, though this is not the conclusion that the temperature and currents indicated. Contrary to expectations, the water beneath the Ross Ice Shelf seemed to be freezing and crystallizing, not melting. Christina Hulb, a glaciologist from the University of Otago in New Zealand, was a co-leader on the project and summed up the strangeness of this discovery in 4 simple words when talking to National Geographic. It blew our minds. Plans to monitor the future of the Ross Ice Shelf have already been implemented, with the 2017 research team leaving instruments behind in order to measure currents and temperatures within the hole over the following years. The freezing of the ice shelf seems promising, suggesting it is plenty stable, at least for the time being. Scientists are also optimistic that the findings from this study will let us see if there have been any changes or melting that has happened in the past, as a direct result of climate shifts. Despite the overwhelmingly positive findings of this particular study, the climate crisis remains a prevalent and concerning threat to our planet, and one that is worsening at an accelerated and rapidly increasing pace. Global warming and the melting of ice caps is an issue we continue to face, with NASA confirming that we are losing ice in Antarctica at a quicker pace with each passing year. Whilst we are yet to determine exactly why we are seemingly so lucky with the peculiar freezing of the Ross Ice Shelf, it certainly is a positive sign that we are not facing the looming threat of the ice shelf collapsing anytime soon. Scientists grew chickens with dinosaur legs to prove how evolution works. Sometimes science experiments can border on the downright strange, as was certainly the case with a series of experiments carried out by scientists in Chile seeking to understand elements of the evolutionary process that gave us none other than the very birds that fill our skies today. Many people believe that when the mysterious asteroid that caused the mass extinction of the dinosaurs landed on Earth, all the dinosaurs disappeared for good. However, we now know that some of these prehistoric creatures survived and evolved into birds. In an attempt to demonstrate the path that such an impressive leap could have taken, researchers genetically modified chickens so that they developed strange tubular fibulas on their legs. These bones were commonly found in such avian dino as the Archaeopteryx, who had a second tibial bone next to the hollow fibula. Evolutionary researchers can follow the path of these two bones through the intervening millennium. As the fibula shortened, thinned, and developed more splinter-like ends, while the tibia sharpened and shortened so much that it no longer reached the ankle. Although modern bird embryos still show early signs of developing the proportionately longer tibular fibula, these bones ultimately end up with the short, thin, splinter-like bones that are typical of birds today. So, why would researchers be interested in giving chickens these dinosaur legs? Essentially, the team hoped to be able to better understand what biological processes drove the change from dinosaur legs to modern bird legs throughout the course of evolution. Because bird embryos possess legs that still resemble those of their ancient dino ancestors, researchers were able to isolate and subsequently inhibit the IHH gene, which allowed the experimental chickens to continue to develop the longer legs promised in their embryos. And what they observed as their legs continued to grow was interesting. Normally, when bones grow, their shafts reach full size first, and the ends continue to develop and lengthen. However, the fibula of modern birds and chickens stops at the ends first, meaning that something, likely the calcaneal bone at the distal end of the fibula, is actively preventing it from reaching dinosaur-like lengths. Turning off the IHH gene removed this blockage, allowing the ends of the bone to continue to grow in order to reach Archaeopteryx lengths. Although these Frankenstein dinosaur chickens were not viable and were not able to hatch, the seemingly strange experiment succeeded in its goal of understanding the biological processes that fueled the evolutionary changes that shortened the legs of birds over time. Alexander Vargas, a member of the research team, explained the goal of the project as focused on single traits to test specific hypotheses. Not only do we know a great deal about bird development, but also about the dinosaur-bird transition, which is well documented by the fossil record. This leads naturally to hypotheses on the evolution of development that can be explored in the lab. With separate experiments creating chickens with such dinosaur features as feet and beaks, it may only be a matter of time before science is able to unravel evolution so much that they are left with tiny chicken-like dinosaurs. Artificial intelligence has found an unknown ghost's ancestor. Figuring out the complex evolutionary past of our species is a momentous undertaking, with new discoveries and findings coming along every so often that derail our understanding and force us to reconsider what we thought we knew. A study initially conducted back in the February of 2019 uncovered a possible hybrid ancestor of modern humans that left scientists somewhat stumped. We don't have information on who she was exactly, but she has certainly helped drive our scientific understanding forward significantly in the past few years. Remains of a teenaged girl who lived more than 50,000 years ago has a remarkable uniqueness to her. These differences led scientists to interpret that she is some form of hybrid ancestor living as part of our prehistory as humans. Despite this girl being found as part of a 2019 study, it was not until late 2021 that researchers managed to find a greater number of remains aligning with this girl. We have only recently found more hybrid ancestors like her. The 2019 study aimed to conduct an analysis on the confusing and convoluted topic of our human prehistory. The team used artificial intelligence to identify ancestor species we were yet to discover or identify that we believe modern humans had come into contact with all those centuries ago. Evolutionary biologist Jaume Bertran Petit from the Universitat Pompeu Fabra in Spain explained that 80,000 years ago, the out of Africa occurred. This was when part of the human population, which did already host modern humans, moved out of Africa and instead migrated to other continents. This travel and separation facilitated the rise and growth of the current populations as we know them today. During the out of Africa, the modern humans began to move towards Eurasia and would procreate with the ancient and extinct hominids they encountered. Prior to this research, we believed these partners to be Neanderthals and Denisovans, with us only finding out about Denisovans in 2010. Now, however, there seems to be evidence of another prehistoric mating partner seemingly kept hidden within the DNA of those within Europe and Asia. The study was able to utilize deep learning algorithms, a program that means an intricate and large amount of data covering the ancient and modern human genetic code can be sorted through. It was the statistical technique known as the Bayesian inference that revealed the evidence of this third elusive influence, what has been called the third introgression. This third introgression is what has been left behind of the so-called ghost archaic population we now know modern humans mated with on their way out of Africa. In their paper, the researchers wrote, "This population is either related to the Neanderthal Denisova clade or diverged early from the Denisova lineage." They did later also suggest the possibility of this third population being the result of mating between the Neanderthals and the Denisovans. It has been noted, however, that even this explanation leaves some abnormalities unaccounted for. The use of artificial intelligence in this field is a new, groundbreaking technique in uncovering human ancestry. It's incredible to think how the most modern advancements can reveal such ancient history. We do need to conduct further research before any definitive conclusions can be made, Though even without considering the results and theories, the role of this technology remains revolutionary. Caribbean Ocean Whistle. Many eerie sounds originate underwater. A lot of times, these sounds induce fear and paranoia. The dark, endless ocean can make one feel stranded and alone. But when we add a mysterious noise, one that seems to have no origin, it is no wonder we become uneasy. Thankfully, even though this first noise comes from a tropical paradise, if it makes its way to your ears, you will remain unbothered. Originated in the Caribbean Ocean, there is a whistle that is both too deep for humans to hear, yet so strong it can be detected in space. While researching fluctuations in ocean mass, scientists from the University of Liverpool discovered anomalies in their measurements. A series of instruments were being used to measure pressure along the ocean's floor. These instruments sent back data suggesting consistent pressure throughout the seafloor in the tropics, except for one instrument. This particular instrument was located in the Caribbean Ocean. After running computer models and analyzing data, the scientists discovered what is called a Rossby wave in the ocean's basin. As the ocean is flanked by South America, Central America, and the Caribbean islands, it creates a semi-enclosed basin, which is the perfect landmass for this wave to make its slow journey across the sea floor. For 120 days, a wave makes its way west across the ocean basin before disappearing out into the ocean. Another wave reappears on the west side of the basin, ready to make the 120-day journey again. As this wave interacts with the seafloor, a whistle-like sound is emitted. This sound is made in much the same way as a whistle we make through our lips. The vibrations in the air from our lips cause the high-pitched whistle we easily recognize. This ocean floor whistle, dubbed the Rossby whistle, is so low humans cannot hear it. To put it in perspective, it is 28 octaves lower than the lowest note on a piano. This A-flat note is easily detected from space because the oscillation caused by the wave disrupts Earth's gravity field just enough. While this whistle is naturally occurring and harmless to humans, scientists are excited by what we can learn from it. Since the Rossby wave enters the Gulf Stream once it leaves the Caribbean basin, scientists believe studying this whistle could give insights into Earth's entire climate system. Furthermore, since the oscillation that causes the whistle lasts 120 days, scientists also think they could predict sea level changes along the South American coast and better plan for storms and floods in that area. It is simply amazing that a single oscillation can give us so much information about our planet. It goes to show that even after millennia of study, Earth still has her secrets. Japan to drop world's largest turbine into the ocean to harvest energy. Japan is planning to install the world's largest turbine in the ocean to harvest energy. This turbine will have the power to resist ocean currents and then convert the flow into incredible amounts of electricity. The prototype, named Keiyu, was created by Ishikawajima Harima Heavy Industries, a Japanese engineering company that has been doing tests and experiments on the technology for over 10 years. In 2017, they united with the Industrial Technology Development Organization to realize their ambitious concepts. In February of 2022, the team was able to successfully complete a 3.5-year test off the coast of Japan with Keiyu. Keiyu is 330 tons and 66 feet long. It can locate the best place to generate power from the current of the deep waters while it is anchored to the floor of the ocean by power cables. Of course, designing Keiyu was no easy task, as the creators had to keep the chaos of the sea in mind in its design. The ocean's waves tend to be turbulent, so Keiyu has blades rotating in opposite directions to keep it as stable as possible. Up until now, Japan has relied on fossil fuel imports to generate the tremendous amount of power the company needs. After a highly publicized nuclear accident in 2011, public opinion on nuclear power turned negative, and there was more encouragement to develop renewable energy options. According to IHI's predictions, if the energy from the current is harvested by the turbine, it could create enough energy to power the entire country. However, attempts to pull out energy from the ocean have mostly failed.
Some of the many hurdles this project will have to overcome are environmental restrictions, the high engineering costs, and the accessibility of coastal areas. If IHI finds success with this project, it will no doubt be a game changer. Scientists are making incredible discoveries every day, and we can only imagine what will be found in the future. We've highlighted just a few of the most exciting findings from this year, from the possibility of creating an energy resource that can power an entire country, to creating a genome catalogue, to creating AI that can solve the economic unfairness that exists in the world.
But what do you make of these recent discoveries? Be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comment section below and help us grow this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.